In shock and disbelief, they just stood there. They could succeed with their plan. Their true intentions were supposed to remain a secret. Nevertheless, there she stood. They had been caught in the act by the cruise ship cleaner. Her evidence was enough to bring their plans to an abrupt halt. It was highly embarrassing for the couple. Before sending in their laundry, they ensured it was as clean as possible. There must have been an oversight when it came to cleaning this shirt. Then, after discovering what the couple was really up to, she squeezed them dry. "This little mess will cost $5,000 to clean," she said, waving a hand at the soiled shirt. "But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories." A total of 13 years have passed since the start of this entire situation. As the couple approached retirement age, they began to plan what they would do with their time. This moment they have had been years in the making for Diana and Roger Jones. Their retirement dream was to fulfill their dreams after they had worked hard and saved every penny. That day was just around the corner. In preparation for their retirement, the companies where they worked had already begun making preparations. The couple would finally retire in less than a month. As soon as they received their checks, they could do whatever they wanted with their money and time. It then came the big question. What would they do now that they had been waiting for this opportunity for so long? They had talked about this day their entire marriage, and so much had been on their minds. However, there were some serious considerations to be made. It was contemplated by the couple to move into the house of one of their children. They had 3 children together. Certain things hindered them, however. Their 3 children were all grown up and had their own families. Furthermore, the grandparents weren't interested in interfering with their lives. That was not an option. The next option was to go to a care facility, but neither of them wanted that, especially not at the age they were then. So what was left? Would they keep the house as an investment for their future? Would they go to their children? Would they follow their plan? For all her life, Diana dreamed of visiting Europe and traveling the world, but she never got that opportunity. She got married straight out of high school, and her first child was born less than a year later. From then on, her life was dedicated to being a mother and a stay-at-home wife. She was so busy caring for everyone else that she never got to care for herself. With her retirement hanging over their heads like a dark cloud, Roger could see the impact it had on his wife. Diana had always told herself that there would be an opportunity to see the world, but now she realized that she was running out of time. Roger loved his wife more than anything or anyone else in the world, and he was determined to make things right. It was up to him to find a solution to the problem. He decided to sit down and discuss the situation with his wife. "I just feel like all we ever did was raise the kids and work. We never got to do anything for ourselves," Diana cried to her husband. Roger's heart was shattering in his chest. He had to do something about this. It became clear to Roger that the most important thing for Diana was that she didn't want to give up all the plans she had built over the years. They had given up all luxury for their family, and they didn't want it all to come crashing down because they didn't plan things properly. But what could they do? That night, while Diana was fast asleep in their bedroom, Roger found himself in front of the computer, looking for more options. Roger couldn't believe his eyes when he stumbled across an advertisement for a new, affordable cruise ship in Miami. Curious, the old man opened the link. He couldn't believe his eyes when he saw the prices. Staying on board the cruise ship would be cheaper than living in an old-age home. That night, Roger spent hours looking up all kinds of cruise ships, but he discovered one problem. Roger didn't know if they could handle something like that at their age. The cruising part would be fine, but it was the stopping that would lead to problems. Where would they stay while the ship was docked? And would they really be able to keep coming and going for the rest of their lives? This was something he had to discuss with his wife because it could make or break the entire plan. But before Roger could speak, he needed to think things through. So Roger spent a few more hours smoothing things out, but in the end, he sat with more questions than answers. What would he do now? He wondered if it was even possible to live on a cruise ship for an extended period of time. He wasn't looking to go on 1 or 2 trips, he was looking to live on these ships. Roger spent the rest of that night setting up a budget and calculating what it would cost the couple. Roger didn't even know if it was legal, but his plan seemed perfect, especially after he looked at what the numbers had to say. He had spent the entire evening in front of the computer, trying desperately to plan their future. She awoke him with a gentle pat on the shoulder, and when he opened his eyes, his heart filled with excitement. He had to tell his wife about what he had discovered the night before. A broad smile spread across Roger's face as he patted the seat next to him. Diana was clearly confused by what was happening, but when her eyes fell on the laptop, she gasped. Could it really be true? Had he found a way? Diana sat beside her husband in front of the computer as he showed her picture after picture of the magnificent ships he had found the night before. When he looked back at his wife, she had a sad smile on her face. "What's the matter, honey?" he asked, concerned by the sudden shift in her mood. She didn't seem excited at all. An eerie silence fell upon the room after Roger asked his question. But the old man couldn't understand why that was. He thought his wife would be happy about this. This all seems lovely, but we could never go through with this, she sighed sadly. Roger frowned, confused by her words. We can't just live on international waters. When these cruise ship owners realize that we are literally living on their ships, they'll kick us out, she explained. Then we'll have nowhere to live. It's all just too risky. We're too old to risk these kinds of things. Yet upon hearing those words, Roger's heart sank. I was envisioning us moving from cruise ship to cruise ship and seeing the entire world, he said sadly. Roger knew that his wife was right, but for just a moment, he considered what life would be like if they actually went through with it. He had never done anything risky before. They always played it safe. What Roger didn't know was that he wasn't just thinking these thoughts. He was actually saying them out loud. When Roger realized what he had done, he looked down at his wife. Would Diana agree to take the risk? He really hoped so. But his wife's response caught Roger completely off guard. What did she think of the idea? And how did she respond to it? Diana pulled away from her husband and rubbed the tears from her eyes. She had to get back to business. They had a lot of planning to do. Sally spoke about a lovely retirement village in Minnesota, she told her husband. They were back to discussing their safer options, but Roger was secretly still thinking about that cruise ship in the back of his mind. What Roger didn't know was that he wasn't the only one who was playing around with the idea. Even though Diana acted like she didn't even want to consider the option, she was thinking about it more and more often. Days passed and Diana couldn't find the strength to stop thinking about Roger's proposal. So one night she decided to sit her husband down and hear what he had to say. They spoke for hours, and after considering all these options, the couple decided to take some time to think about their plan. While doing his research, Roger saw an ad, and he decided to do something drastic. While his wife was preparing lunch, he had booked a cruise for the two of them that would allow them to see 3 of the countries that were on her bucket list. As they sat around their dining room table eating the lunch Diana had prepared, Roger mentioned his sudden plans to his wife, and Diana was shocked. This time, her eyes were filled with excitement, and she couldn't wait to experience what the cruise had to us. Roger claimed that it would just be a short holiday break before they settled on a retirement home. It will only be a few weeks. Once we get back, we can look at that retirement home in Minnesota, he said, hoping she'd agree. Diana was delighted with the proposal. She had no idea what her husband was planning. 2 weeks later, Roger and Diana were at the harbor. Roger had it all planned out. He would wait until she was having fun, and then he would ask the question again. Days turned to weeks, and things just became more exciting. The couple explored new countries and met new people, and they were falling into a routine, and it was far better than the one they had at home. That was when Roger decided that this was the kind of life he wanted. He didn't want to spend his days in a nursing home. He wanted to spend it having fun. While on the cruise, Roger made a joke, stating that he was still willing to live on cruise ships. That night, as they stared over the pitch-black ocean, Diana thought about going back home and living in a retirement village. She hated the idea. In a split second, she made the biggest decision of her life. Let's do it, Diana delightfully agreed, not knowing what it would ultimately mean for them. She had forgotten about the risks involved. But the more time passed, the more the idea began to take root. Diana loved the idea of sailing the seas until the end of her days, and so did Roger. They started being more serious about it when the topic was raised, and when they started considering finances, they realized that it would actually end up being a cheaper option. Before making a final choice, they decided to go on another cruise to see if the idea was feasible. Sure, the idea was fantastic, but would it be a sustainable lifestyle for them? The answer to that question was yes. There was always a doctor on board, and it turned out to be cheaper than a care facility. Plus, they could tick things off their bucket list. Years passed, and the couple was having the time of their lives. They moved from one cruise ship to another, saw countries they never thought they would visit, and experienced things they never thought existed. And Jarn, it was the best decision they had ever made, or so they thought. But that would change on their next cruise. There was one thing that always bothered them. What would happen if the company found out what it was that they were doing? In the next trip the couple had planned was a Caribbean cruise, and that was where the incident happened. The couple had always ensured that none of the staff members would find out what they were really up to. But on this fateful night, everything would change, and it was all because of a greedy cleaner. That evening, the couple decided to have some dinner and dance the night away. When they got closer to their room, they saw someone leaning against their door. Neither of them recognized the stranger, but her uniform did indicate that she worked on the ship, and the trolley in front of her let them know that she was one of the cleaners. But why was she standing outside their room? The cleaner insisted on entering with the couple, and that was when she did something that made their hearts drop. The cleaner pulled one of Roger's shirts out of her cart and asked the couple if they would care to explain the stain that was on it. Was this it? Was their cover about to be blown? Diana explained that Roger was wearing the shirt the night before. It was hot, which clouded his mind a little, and he walked into a counter. At his age, his skin was thin and fragile, so when the incident happened, he ended up cutting himself. Deanna was overwhelmed with fear for her husband and forgot to wash the shirt before the cleaning crew came. The cleaner then stated that she knew what they were up to. She had seen them on other ships she had been working on. She claimed that the company would give them a lifetime ban if they found out about this and demanded $5,000 for her silence. But she had no idea who it was that she was dealing with. Diana tried to keep her emotions under wrap when she told the cleaner to go ahead and tell the company. She would never let anyone get away with blackmailing her, right? And she knew that the cleaner would be in just as much trouble if her attempts to extort paying customers were brought to her manager's attention. But that was nowhere near the end. Diana had another trick up her sleeve. But when they docked at their next destination, she called the local news station and told them what happened with the cleaner. The company was ashamed to hear what their staff were getting up to and made a formal apology. But that wasn't all they did. The company fired the cleaner on the spot and banned her from ever working on a cruise ship again. And they promoted the couple to VIP members, giving them free cruises for life.